Welcome back to my channel, History of World. 50 insane Gettysburg facts that will blow your mind. The Battle of Gettysburg was more than just a military engagement. It was a moment where history twisted in the hands of ordinary men, a clash that defined a nation's fate. These 50 facts will take you deeper than textbooks dare to go, into the strategy, suffering, and strange truths of the Civil War's bloodiest battle. Fact 1. The battle began over shoes. On July 1, 1863, Confederate troops entered Gettysburg in search of a rumored supply of footwear, only to encounter Union cavalry. What started as a supply run escalated into one of the deadliest encounters in American history. Fact 2. Gettysburg was not chosen by military design. The town had 10 major roads leading in, making it a natural point of convergence for both armies, but no one expected a fight there until it was already too late to turn back. Fact 3. The total number of soldiers involved exceeded 165,000, more than the entire population of Washington, D.C. at the time. Fact 4. The casualties were staggering. Over 51,000 soldiers were killed, wounded, captured, or went missing in just 3 days, the highest of any battle in the American Civil War. Fact 5. Despite the chaos, civilian deaths were rare. Only one civilian was confirmed killed during the fighting, a 20-year-old woman named Jenny Wade, struck by a stray bullet while baking bread in her kitchen. Fact 6. The battle took place during one of the hottest summers on record. Soldiers described the heat and humidity as unbearable, contributing to disease, dehydration, and the stench of death that lingered for weeks. Fact 7. Many soldiers fought barefoot or with torn shoes. Supplies were so limited on both sides that footwear was considered a valuable commodity. Fact 8. Gettysburg was fought over 25 square miles of farmland, orchards, and small-town streets. Much of that land is still preserved today. Fact 9. The infamous Pickett's Charge, often considered the high water mark of the Confederacy, was a disastrous assault on the final day of the battle. Nearly 12,000 Confederate soldiers marched across open fields into the teeth of Union fire. More than half were killed or wounded within an hour. Fact 10. Union General George Meade had been in command for just 3 days before the battle began. Fact 11. Confederate General Robert E. Lee had planned to carry the war into the North, hoping a major victory on Union soil would force a political settlement or foreign recognition of the Confederacy. Fact 12. Lee's decision to fight at Gettysburg was heavily criticized afterward, especially for the failure of Pickett's Charge. Fact 13. The Union victory at Gettysburg, coupled with the fall of Vicksburg the next day, marked a major turning point in the war. Fact 14. Over 3,000 horses were killed in the battle. Their carcasses had to be burned in massive pyres that darkened the skies for days. Fact 15. Many wounded men lay untreated for days. Makeshift hospitals were set up in churches, barns, and even homes, where unsanitary conditions led to widespread infection. Fact 16. Amputations were the most common form of surgery. Surgeons worked around the clock, often without anesthesia, performing hundreds of operations in the heat. Fact 17. Some soldiers used Bibles or letters from home as makeshift bulletproof protection, tucking them into their uniforms. Occasionally, they actually stopped bullets. Fact 18. One soldier was reportedly saved when a bullet lodged in his pocket watch instead of his chest. Fact 19. African Americans, both free and enslaved, played roles on both sides, as laborers, scouts, and in some rare cases, as soldiers or support personnel. Fact 20. Women disguised themselves as men to fight. At least 2 such cases were documented during the battle. Fact 21. The town of Gettysburg was overwhelmed. Its population of 2,400 suddenly had to house, feed, and care for tens of thousands of wounded and dying soldiers. Fact 22. Gettysburg's Lutheran seminary became a key observation point and later a hospital. Fact 23. After the battle, the town reeked of blood, rot, and gunpowder. It took weeks to bury the dead, and many were initially interred in shallow graves. Fact 24. Local children found bullets, uniforms, and weapons in fields for years afterward. Fact 25. President Abraham Lincoln visited Gettysburg just months later to deliver what would become one of the most iconic speeches in American history, the Gettysburg Address. Fact 26. The Gettysburg Address was under 2 minutes long and originally received mixed reviews from the press. Fact 27. The exact location of where Lincoln stood during his speech is still debated by historians. Fact 28. Lincoln wasn't the keynote speaker that day. That honor went to Edward Everett, who spoke for over 2 hours. Fact 29. The National Cemetery at Gettysburg was established just months after the battle, with thousands of Union soldiers reburied there with full honors. Fact 30. Confederate dead were often left in shallow graves until Southern states raised funds to relocate them years later. Fact 31. Bodies were still being discovered in the 20th century, including skeletons found during construction projects. Fact 32. Artifacts from the battle, bullets, buttons, canteens, are still occasionally unearthed by farmers and preservationists. Fact 33. Some locals claim to see ghosts or hear cannon fire on foggy nights long after the battle ended. Fact 34. A soldier's dog remained by his master's body for days before being found, refusing to eat or leave the site. Fact 35. Union and Confederate veterans later held joint reunions at Gettysburg. One in 1913 drew over 50,000 former soldiers, now gray-haired and limping, but shaking hands across the same fields where they once tried to kill each other. Fact 36. President Franklin D. Roosevelt attended the 75th anniversary reunion in 1938. He called it a meeting of peace. Fact 37. Many of the battlefield landmarks, including the famous Devil's Den and Little Round Top, are named for local legends or terrain features. Fact 38. The Union defense of Little Round Top is considered one of the most heroic actions of the war. Led by Colonel Joshua Chamberlain, the 20th Maine Regiment held their ground and then charged downhill with bayonets when out of ammunition. Fact 39. Chamberlain was later awarded the Medal of Honor and became a celebrated figure after the war. Fact 40. The Gettysburg battlefield is now one of the most visited historical sites in the United States, attracting over 1 million people annually. Fact 41. It was one of the first American battlefields to be preserved through federal action, leading to the creation of the National Park Service. Fact 42. Original photographs of the dead at Gettysburg, taken by Alexander Gardner, were among the first images of war to shock the American public. Fact 43. Many of the uniforms were dyed gray or blue, but due to wear and dirt, soldiers often mistook friend for foe during the heat of battle. Fact 44. Signal towers and observation balloons were used to monitor troop movement, a surprisingly modern tactic for the 1860s. Fact 45. The Confederate Army was critically low on food, ammunition, and supplies by the time they reached Gettysburg. Lee was fighting on borrowed time. Fact 46. Some Confederate soldiers were barefoot, having marched hundreds of miles on blistered feet. Fact 47. A single Union sharpshooter reportedly killed over 30 men from a hidden perch in the Round Tops, never being discovered. Fact 48. After Gettysburg, Lee offered to resign. Jefferson Davis refused to accept it. Fact 49. The word Gettysburg has since become synonymous with sacrifice, unity, and the cost of civil war. Fact 50. The echoes of Gettysburg still shape the American story, not just through strategy and death counts, but through the memory of a nation that once nearly tore itself apart. If these facts gave you a new perspective on a well-known battle, consider subscribing for more stories from the past that still shape our future. Because history isn't just what happened, it's what we choose to remember.